IBAT is a not-for-profit public charitable trust. Over a period of time, we have grown into a think tank that aims to provide a platform for policymakers, technologists, academicians, and industry leaders. So we get together, and what's the purpose? We debate, we discuss, and we share our views. While doing that, we cover a broad range of topics like contemporary management, technical issues, geopolitical issues, and also economic issues. So for today, I would like to invite Mr. Rajaram Shetty, who is a chartered accountant for the last 4 decades. I would like to invite him here, and we will listen to him and get his views on how this interesting group of 12 people have got together and how we will be using this think tank to share our ideas.
We got here people of eminence who have in their own way built their future. Once Abraham Lincoln said, you can predict your future provided you create it. So these people have created, and their journey of life actually should be visualized by all people, especially younger generation. You are welcome here. Thank you. Thank you, Ananda.
To Dr. Sandeep Shenoy. Our next speaker has 7 years of industrial experience, 21 years in academics. During his stint in the industry, he has had the privilege of working with Sapurji Paulanji, a conglomerate in his own right. With him in various capacities, he's handled lots of projects and brought them to prestigious endings all over Mumbai. After joining Manipal in the very first decade of his service, he has functioned in various academic and admin roles at Manipal Institute of Management. Currently, Dr. Shenoy holds the dual capacity as the head, Department of Commerce, and Director of Compliance at MAHE. Precision is, after all, not only a responsibility and a form of pleasure, but it is also an instrument of compassion. To be precise requires care, time, attention to people, to places, and also the processes involved. Some of his enviable achievements are a testament to his meticulous attention to detail and dealing with people, working towards the betterment of the society, the place he is working for, and coming out with ironclad processes for sustainable growth. Let's listen to the achievements that he has brought in during his tenure with our wonderful city. He has grown the strength of Department of Commerce from 100 to over 2,500. When he started, there was just one undergraduate program. Now there are multiple undergraduate, postgraduate, and also certification programs. He joined as a team member to achieve the Ramakrishna Bajaj National Quality Awards. Under his leadership, MAHE has now achieved the Institute of Eminence status. To talk about academic leadership, ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome.
So, very good morning to all of you. The august audience for today's iTALK, a very innovative program organized by IBAT. And it's a privilege for me to speak to this audience about something which is close to my heart, that is about academic leadership. Now, people say leaders are born, not made. Some of them say like that. Some of them say leaders are made, they are not just born. You can be a leader, you can become a leader through self-study, you can be a leader through education, you can get to training and through your own experience. So I believe that yes, there is some element of truth in that, where leaders need not be born, but they can be made. So it all depends upon how you educate yourself, how you use your education, how you use your training, and how you use your experience. So today I will be sharing with you a few of my experiences and then basically it will be covering those traits which is required for effective leadership in academic institutions. So if you, all these traits I have personally experienced, I personally achieved them, and that has led to some of my successes. I won't be boasting about it, but definitely if all of you inculcate that in your journey, definitely those traits will help you to be successful in life. So keeping that in mind, I'll just share those traits which really helped me. So starting with the first trait, that is strategic thinking, strategic planning, design thinking. So basically these are all big words. When you say strategy, people talk, oh, bahut bada word, a very big word. Yes, strategy is a big word. You need to have a vision. So any institution, when you are overseeing as a leader, you need to have a vision what you are going to do in the next 5 to 10 years, what is going, this particular institution is going to be. So you need to have a vision, you need to have a mission to drive that vision. So you need to make sure you have activities in place which will help you to achieve those vision. So you may be saying, you may be putting the vision in a form of strategic objectives, in the form of matrix, which are measurable in nature, so that you know that you are reaching towards your vision. So what we did is we aligned our strategic objectives as well as vision with what the parent organization wanted. So when I am talking about parent organization here, we are talking about the university where I am working with, and I am a department in that university, I am heading that department. So we are looking at how I can align my departmental vision with respect to the university's vision. So we made sure that there is an alignment, and once we have aligned that to the departmental vision with the universities or the organization vision, we look at how this vision can be achieved, what will the metrics which will tell me whether this vision is being achieved or not, what we have thought about for the department, how I can measure whether I am successful, effective in that. So we broke down the strategic objectives into very measurable metrics, and we made sure that we review this on a periodic basis. So strategic planning, strategic thinking, reviewing process, considering various stakeholders. So we need to also look at who are the stakeholders in our process. So students are stakeholders, parents are stakeholders, your own organization is a stakeholder, regulators are your stakeholders, industry is your stakeholder. So you need to look at who are your stakeholders and make sure you get adequate data from all these stakeholders, review that data, analyze that data, and then decide what you want to do, where you want to be, and where if you want to reach your vision, what would be the requirements. So what you should, how you should set your strategic objectives, what are your strength, weakness, opportunities and threats. Have you done a proper, have you used tools which will analyze where you are and where you want to go. So we need to be very clear about your strategic planning. You need to develop a strong plan for at least a short-term plan, a medium-term plan, and a long-term plan. So maybe you can say 5 years for a short, within 0 to 5 years a short-term plan, maybe 5 to 10 years a medium-term, and 15 years for the long-term. So you need to be very clear in the next 15 years where you are going to be. So these are very important from the leadership perspective, and even in an academic institution we need to do that. So what kind of programs I am going to run, what kind of student strength I am going to have, what kind of faculty requirements I may need, what kind of infrastructure I may need. So all these need to be part of your strategic plan. Unless you are very clear about this aspect, you may not be able to be very effective in your organization. You need to be very precise about the planning, and you need to do course corrections as time passes, because what you planned about 2 years back, some changes may happen in the regulatory bodies, may bring in some changes, there may be policy changes, there may be changes induced by pandemics. So you may have to look at what changes you need to bring in, and that is where you need to fine tune your strategic plans and make sure course corrections happen on a timely basis. So once you have a strategic plan in place, another aspect which you need to look at, another trait which is important is financial planning, financial management. So you are running an academic institution. You may say, okay, academic institution in India, it is more or less not for profit kind of ideology here. So we don't talk about much about profits in academic institutions. So what does it matter? How does it matter? Yes, it is very much important because you are running in such a manner that your income and expenditure should match. It should not, at least you should have something left for future investment into infrastructure as well. So you need to be very careful that you should know what are your operational expenses, what are your capital expenditure, what you need to invest, how much you need to invest, what are long-term investments, what are short-term investments, what kind of working capital you need. All these things are very, very important. So for a leader, if they don't know these aspects, then it will be very, very difficult. So they need to prioritize what are the things they need to spend, what are the things they need to invest, and then they need to also look at what kind of projections they have in terms of the income as well as expenditure, because unless they keep a balance of that, they may find it very difficult to run the organization effectively. So financial planning, financial management is very, very important. How you get the funds. Many times you get funds in the form of tuition fees, you get funds in the form of grants, donations from alumni, and so on. So you need to look at what are these projections and how you can utilize them very effectively. So unless you have a sound knowledge in financial management, it may be very, very difficult for you to be an effective academic leader. The next aspect comes in terms of leadership pipeline creation. Now, this is a very, very big term when you say leadership pipeline. Now, you must have heard something called succession planning, which is a part of any HR or any kind of management education. You say succession planning. So many times what happens, institutions, there are leaders, but then there are no second or third line leaders available in the organization. There is a very good leader at the top, but the top leader at the top has not created adequate second and third line leaders. They has not trained them, not groomed them. So succession planning doesn't happen. When succession planning doesn't happen, then what happens, the organization over a period doesn't sustain. So what is important, we need to make sure that the organization has sufficient level of second and third level leaders who will take on the role whenever required. For that matter, in my department, the processes, the academic as well as administrative processes do not stop if I am not there on a particular day because of certain reasons. So not a single day a student has been turned back saying that the head of the department is not there, so you come tomorrow for whatever you need to do. So we have made sure that every process happens on the same day, irrespective of whether I am present or not. So that's the kind of autonomy, that's the kind of training or grooming which have been given to the various levels to make sure that the processes run seamlessly. So accountability is given, responsibility is given, delegation is done. So all these are big words, delegation, responsibility, accountability, but all this has to be practiced effectively to make sure that your processes run seamlessly even if the leader is not present on a particular day. So if your organization runs very effectively like that without you being present on a particular day, there is no hiccups. Definitely you need to pat your back that yes, you have really done something worthwhile. So that is very important. You need to create that kind of an accountability among your staff. You need to groom them. You need to make them responsible, and you need to give them adequate delegation so that they can take decisions. So decision making is very important. Many times decisions are not taken because the top person is not available. So that's where all this succession planning, the grooming, the leadership pipeline development is very, very important. So it's very important that to be an effective academic leader, you need to train others. So training others doesn't mean you are creating a kind of situation where you are dispensable. It's not like that. It's not a question of being indispensable. It's a question of creating a sustainable organization. The next important aspect, there are 3 C's which comes next. One C is communication. So communication is a trait which helps you to become an effective leader in an organization. It can be any organization, it can be academic as well as a corporate world, but communication is very, very important. You need to communicate verbally as well as non-verbally very well to be effective in your organization. Otherwise, many times lack of clarity in the communication leads to a lot of disruptions. You need to make sure your communications, whether it's an internal meeting with your own staff or whether it's a meeting with the regulators or it's a communication or a circular or an email, you need to be very sure these need to be drafted very well communicated with a lot of clarity. That will help you to be very effective. Otherwise, it will create a lot of disruptions, a lot of confusions, and if you are not very clear in your communication, it may not help you to run your organization very effectively. So you need to be very sure that communication skills has to be fine-tuned. It's not that today you think you are good, you always have opportunities to learn. You always have opportunities to learn more, improve upon that and try to do better. So each day you need to learn. Experience is very, very important, and any kind of communication which backlashes you or you find that it is not effective, you should make sure you go back and see where you went wrong and you should correct it. So course corrections on a timely basis, effective communication, timely communications are very, very important. Many of you must have experienced this during the pandemic, where communication was one of the key areas, and the people who made the communications effectively, on time, agile, they managed to handle the pandemic much better. Coming to the next C which comes in my mind is collaborations. An academic leader has a lot of responsibility in terms of developing collaborations. So collaborations are not just paper agreements or something which is there on the paper. You say I have 20 collaborations or 50 collaborations or 100 collaborations. It's more important what are the activities under those collaborations, how the organization benefits from those activities, and what kind of role your organization has in that. So it's very important for you to develop those collaborations. It can be a university to university collaboration for transfer of credits to the students, or it can be a university to industry where you are trying to bridge the industry academia gap. It can be a collaboration where you are trying to collaborate with the community, with the local governing bodies to do some kind of training programs or community development programs. So there are n number of collaborations which are available with the academic institutions which they can involve with. Many a times the academic institutions themselves know what kind of potential they have. Many a times they just leave it that okay, if something comes we will do, otherwise. There is a lot of opportunities for you to think laterally and decide where you can collaborate. So there is no ending to that. There is a long list of things which you can decide and do. It's not that many things are being done by many others, and it is something where you need to identify very niche areas and try to work on those areas where no one is already doing it. So there are so many areas where there is a potential for collaborations, and these collaborations, they come by your own initiative. It will not be always that someone will come to your door and ask for collaboration. So you need to look at, keep a watch, be alert, and then also a lot of reading and going around helps you to understand where you can collaborate. So that's where one of the areas where I have been very successful. I have collaborated with various universities, I have collaborated with the industry, and these collaborations have helped me in terms of getting more students to the organization, getting more industries to the organization, and bridging that industry academia gap by making sure their inputs are brought into the academic deliveries. So that is very, very important. So we need to make sure that collaborations will help us to build the organizations towards its vision, and make sure that we get people to know us, and we also start knowing many people, and then end of the day it benefits both the organization as well as the other body which is collaborating. The next one which is very, very important is change management. Any quality, any kind of trait which you are looking in an academic leader, change management is one of the most challenging one. So many times many new rules come, new regulations come, many situations come, especially when you look at the pandemic which struck us about 2 years back, a time when we were not so conversant with the online mode of teaching, online platform of teaching. That's where the change management was very, very important, where you need to train the faculties to use those online modes and bring them to deliver the contents on par with what they were delivering earlier through the offline mode, and try to make sure the students are benefited from that. So it's very, very important that you need to bring that change management by understanding what your employees expect, and then give them the clarity, give them the clear communication so that they are in sync with you. Unless they are in sync with you, your organization may not work effectively. So sustainability, working effectively, all depends upon how you effectively manage the changes which are happening in your day-to-day kind of operations. On a timely basis, if you address change management, definitely you can be more effective in academic leadership. The next one which comes to my mind is, which is very important, is empathy. So now you may be thinking, yeah, how can a leader be having empathy? Why a leader should have empathy? Leader should work through brains, not through the heart. So why we should have that? Because you should understand that leadership involves lot of perseverance, lot of patience. You need to listen to people. Listening skills have to be honed. You need to listen. You have to be silent. You need to make others to speak a lot. Understand what they are speaking, analyze it, and then decide what to do. So it is not that you are using your heart or your brain in your decision. It is more about making sure you understand the stakeholder very well, and then you are given the stakeholder adequate opportunity to convey what they wanted to convey. You got all the inputs as much as possible, and then you take a well-informed decision. So you need to put yourself in the shoes of various roles. Say you may have a student sitting in front of you and telling about his grievance. You need to put yourself in the shoes of the student and see, what would I have done if I had been in his shoes? What would I have done if he was there in his situation? Or you put it in the like your faculty is sitting in front of you and sharing something. So put yourself in the shoes of the faculty and see, if I was a faculty sitting there, what I would have done. So many times we don't do that. We go by certain laid down rules and we go by certain laid down regulations. We don't listen. Sometimes the existing regulations may be deterrent. They may not be really, they need some kind of a change. So you need to really look at whether with a lot of empathy in terms of listening to people, understanding their views, and then having that patience to listen to them, and make sure you go back to your table and then take a decision after incorporating all the inputs you have got. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you may end up not creating a situation where your employees will not be happy with you, your students will not be happy with you, your stakeholders will not be happy with you. So end of the day, that impacts your organization in a big way. So you need to make sure all of them are engaged and their views are taken, and then you take a well-informed decision. And the last part, of course there are many more, but since we have restrictions of time, I'll end it up with one of the last very important trait which an academic leader should have is entrepreneurial spirit. Now many times we talk about, in this talk we began with somewhere the slide says thinker, doer and idea generator. We talk about innovations, we talk about new ideas being generated, new courses started, new certifications, new training program. So all this is required in an academic leader, because see, unless the leader thinks, yes, we need to have changes, we need to have more things on our table, we need to build our organization better, we need to restructure things. Otherwise, if you do not have that risk management or risk taking abilities, you may find yourself stagnated. As mentioned in my introduction, we were a department with only one course which were running in banking and finance, and we were fairly comfortable. We had a decent number of students, could have been sustainable with 4 faculties and 1 HOD, could have run for several years without much of a challenge. So if I had not taken a decision that I want to expand, I want to have more courses under the belt, I want to diversify, I want to make the department more useful to the society, we would not have ended up with more than 15 courses, with more certification, industry collaborations, foreign university collaborations, consultancies and research in our portfolio, and 50 faculties in place of 4 faculties and more than 2,000 students. So that is because I had that entrepreneurial spirit, that I wanted my organization to grow. I wanted to create that kind of an environment, and I wanted to make sure my faculties also inculcate those spirits. So it's very important that the leadership creates that entrepreneurial spirit in the employees, in the staff, and make sure they start thinking in that way. So it's very, very important. So entrepreneurial spirit is one of the last things which I would like to suggest. So these are few traits which academic leaders need to inculcate so that they can be more effective in running their organizations. And I have all inculcated these traits and have been successful, so I can confidently tell all of you that yes, these are things which are very, very important. And then I should thank IBAT and for giving me an opportunity, a platform to share my thoughts. And I'm sure whatever we discussed today, some of you may find it interesting and may explore further in terms of how you can be more effective in academic leadership. I thank the organizers for giving this opportunity once again. Thank you.
Thank you, dear friends, for watching this episode of iTALK. iTALK is an event that was brought to you by IBAT, the think tank, in association with U-Channel. This edition of iTALK tried to bring in 12 thinkers, doers, and idea generators from diverse fields on a single platform. I hope you will watch and listen to our 11 other speakers too and enjoy it. If you have liked our program, please subscribe to our channel by clicking on subscribe button. Thank you. Have a great day ahead. Thank you, dear friends.